Have you ever tried to scale your offer only for it to fail? Well, why you will fail to scale almost every single time unless you understand at least this core concept. Now, there are a few reasons why you'll fail whenever you try to scale your ad, and I want to cover them here, but some of them are very basic, and it also covers the reason why a lot of people have a hard time starting, which I'll go over, which I'll cover a little bit in the end. So if you hang out with me here for a few minutes, I'm going to cover something here that should be fairly basic for you to grasp, and hopefully you'll have a better understanding of what you're doing and how to actually scale your offer. My name is Eric Vignola. I'm a direct response marketer with over 20 years experience. I help large and small businesses from local mom and pops to international, uh, you know, large corporations, I guess, go from for local mom and pops to their first six figures or multiple six figures. I've helped people make millions of dollars, and I've helped big international companies go from single millions to tens of millions. I would love to share all my expertise with you, so feel free to watch more videos, like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you got to do. Okay, on to the rest of the video. So over here I have money spent and gained over time, right? Most businesses, if you're making revenue right now, let's say you're here, right? I don't know how well you can see that, but say you're there, and we'll use, we'll use blue. You can tell the color of this green is not the same color as that green. Okay, let's try this again. So say your revenue is here, right? Indicated by the blue line. And currently your expenses are here, which is the whole reason why you want to scale. You're making more money than you're spending. So you're like, hey, I'll scale. What they fail to consider is a couple of things. One is the time to purchase. So most of the time that these sales are coming in, they're not from the ads that you're running just now. You might think they're from the ads that you're running just now, but you're wrong. So what ends up happening is you increase your budget, right? Hey, I'm going to spend more to make more. Most people think that their revenue is going to climb like this. Boop, boop. That's what they think. This isn't actually what happens. So usually our costs go up immediately here, and our revenue does something like this. It kind of stagnates and then it slowly comes up like that. Okay? That's usually how your revenue does when you scale. The problem isn't that that happens. The problem is this guy down here, time. How much time does it take from the time that you scale for your revenue to jump up? Most business owners pull the plug way too early. So they start scaling and they enter this zone here, right? And they start freaking out. They might get to about maybe this point where they see a tiny bump like that, and they go, you know what? It isn't worth it. Screw it. I'm not doing this anymore. Right? This is too much money. I'm cutting my losses right here. The spend goes down here. Now, funny thing with this is, like I said, the delay, right? Because this is where you get positive reinforcement incorrectly. Your sales have just started to climb because of the previous spending. So the time delay is still there. So you end up getting this boost in revenue, which makes you think you're like the smartest man in the world. Hey, I just cut back my ad spend, and all of a sudden I got way more sales. This was the best thing I ever could have done. The time keeps going, and what happens is you get this reverse dip where it comes down and evens out like this. Okay, as time goes on, that. So for a little while, you end up making more sales, and that's depends on how long you kept the spend up for, honestly. But because of this increased spend and ad, you actually get an additional boost of sales that shows up after, even though you've reduced your ad spend, causing this spike, which makes you think you're super awesome and intelligent. When in actuality, you're kind of being an idiot. Because what happens is you cut your ad spend, and now your sales drop, but they drop dramatically. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you why. Go scream at the sky. Rules of the universe. I don't know. But it dips under before it recovers. Okay, most people when this dip happens, they shut off their ads completely, right? So when this dip happens, they cut spend like that. And guess what happens with revenue? roughly the same thing. So we get this little bump and then it plummets down. And this is what causes people to freak out, go nuts, say ads don't work, and scream at the sky and swear at every marketer that they run across because they don't understand what's happening here, right? Some people let it go on for a little while and they cover and they say, okay, I guess I can only spend this much money, or I can only do this kind of ads, or I'm not sure what's quite working, when they just don't understand the length of time it takes for them to make a purchase. For example, I had a client and her ads, it took 3 months for the spend that she had for her to see the results of her ads. 3 months. So she had to increase her budget and wait 3 months to see the after effect of it. Now it was fantastic and she could manage that, but she knew it, right? She knew, hey, it takes on average 3 months for somebody to purchase when they come into my program, when they come into her system or her world, universe, whatever you want to call it. So if you know that number, this makes this time frame here easier to manage. If you know it takes 7 days for somebody to actually buy from you, these are some numbers that you need to track that most people don't, which is how long does it take from the time that somebody actually comes into my world to the time that they purchase from me. That usually comes from getting this data over time. But knowing this can save you a lot of grief. Now, if you don't know those numbers and you're just guessing wildly, guess what? This is why you fail to scale right here, because you don't know the numbers. Now, if you're just starting out in business, right? If you're just starting out, now I don't have my eraser, so you'll have to forgive me. I know, blasphemy. Most people, if you're just starting out in business, they're like, why can't I start running ads right away and make money? I don't understand. Because they have no time frame here. So they just start spending money, right? Remember, there's a delay. So they're going to spend money for a while, and then sales will come up. But remember, sales don't come up sharp, and they don't come up beanie. They come in an arch. So it's like it starts to do this. It's like, ooh, like that, right? And usually, this is the same thing you see with new business owners. It's the same thing you see when you're scaling. Notice the pattern here? This point right here, like you're good. Hey, I'm making some sales, but nothing's really happening. And they cut it right here. Right? Now, Facebook's really neat with this because if on Facebook, and I think some of the other platforms, well, currently, Facebook has a 7-day attribution window. So it's always fun, not really, but it's always amusing to see clients, they turn their ads off, and then several days later, they see this spike of sales. And they're like, look at all these sales. They weren't there when I first turned my ads off. Right, because there's a delay. So you have to give your ads time. You have to give whatever you're doing. It may not be Facebook ads, could be Google ads, could be emails, could be whatever it is. But you need to give it this time in order for you to actually see success. Now, there are other things going on here, especially if you knew there's a lot that you actually have to take in mind. But if you're just scaling your offer, you know it works, you know what the conversion rates are, etc., you may not know the length of time it takes until somebody buys. And if you don't know the length of time until somebody buys, when you go to scale, you're going to fail every single time. It happens very often. So it's something I want you to keep in mind whenever you do this. Now, if you want to know smarter ways to scale or more ways to scale than just adding money in, feel free to reach out to me. I spend a lot of time doing stuff like this and helping business owners. Now with that section cut out, which could be awkward depending on how you're watching this, I do apologize. That's all I have to share for you today on why you're going to fail when you scale if you don't know this. If you do know this, all power to you. Keep that in mind. If you're brand new, keep this in mind as well. Hopefully you'll figure out the length of time somebody purchases before you pull the trigger. That's it for now. And this is from the CMO you should have hired, but can't. I'll talk to you next time.